come on in the room. I got more thoughts about putting limitations on yourself to get better. Yeah, I'm just going to talk as though there are 100 people in here right now. So, been thinking a bit about some people just, I'm in one of my favorite places in the city to get my head clear or whatever. Used to come here when I was a little kid. People be running out here. I like to work out, but I have never been a runner. I don't know what that is, man. When people be running, some folks don't even look like they having fun. They just be running. They be like, I'm like, damn, that does not look like fun at all. Why are you doing that? But anyway, whatever you got to do to stay healthy. So, what's up, sir? What's up, sir? Excellent. I'm just out here amongst nature. People walking their dogs and running. I was running. Hi there. Hey, how are ya? All right. Great day in the neighborhood. Orange juice. I saw you walking in the rain. So, limitations, more thoughts about limitations and how limitations make us better at stuff. Going back to that whole thing I was on yesterday about growing up in the 80s and actually being glad that YouTube was not around in the 80s. Because I would have been way distracted, man. You know what I mean? Like, back in the 80s, the first piece of gear I had was like I had a bass and a cable and a little 40-watt amp and a stereo. It was it, right? So bringing it to today, on my laptop, I use a laptop. I don't know when the last time I had a desktop computer. I have had my two main DAWs of choice have been Logic and Reason. And this year, I'm really determined to not put any other DAW on my laptop. I only have Logic. Reason isn't on there, right? And I was trying to learn how I was building some templates and trying to get into a certain sound that I'm looking for, right? And certain sense. And so I'm like, I got native instrument plugins and all this and all these third-party plugins. I'm like, yo, son, why don't you just follow your own advice? Work with the stock plugins, right? Learn the stock plugins. Like Logic has got a dope retro synth plugin, and I know a little bit like about synthesis or whatever, but I'm like going down this rabbit hole. I'm like, shit, I got nothing done. Oh, y'all got to see this boat going by. This is why I love this spot. Check it out. Y'all see that? I love watching these boats go by. Anyway, always like, just tripping on the what they're carrying and where they're coming from, where they're going, where they been, where they going. Anyway, so it got me thinking again about the whole bass thing I was, talking about yesterday. Some of y'all are guilty of this yourself. Some of y'all know some people like this. They're always buying like a new bass. They're always buying a new bass, and it'd be like, fam, you can't hardly play the one you got or the five you got. Now, again, I'm not trying to talk trash. I've been there too, and I've gotten there myself sometimes as well. I used to be a real tinkerer. Can't even talk, man. Tinkerer. I used to get a bass, man. I tear it apart, pickups and all this, whoop, 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 and do all this stuff, man. It's like, hey. Slow down. Yes, that gas, man. Like, I got to get this. I got to get this pedal. I got to get these strings and blah, blah, blah. Like, yo, to play that one you got. You know what I mean? Or play the one you have. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. What are y'all thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on that? Am I talking? Am I just talking trash, or am I? What's up, Stephen Bird? Am I just talking trash, or is this resonating with some folks? So I'm sitting down with the sense, and okay, I'm sitting down with the sense, and I'm getting all sidetracked, man. Like the technology, man. Like the technology is so good, but excuse me, but it's also like so distracting. It's incredibly distracting. Like the deeper you get off into, you know, turning this knob or turning that knob, I guess there's value in that as well. You know what I mean? Depending on what you want to do, right? Depending on what you want to do. So y'all talk to me. What are y'all listening to right now? What are you in your practice when you sit down to pick up your instrument? Amari Fernandez. I have a lot of students. Amari's a good kid. Amari's a good kid. Amari, this is not a school appropriate live stream. I'm gonna have to start blocking y'all, not because I don't love you, but because I'm not in middle school teacher mode right now. So bass players, what are you guys sitting down? What are you practicing? What are you shedding on right now? When you sit down to practice, what are you practicing? Let me know. I want to see it in the chat. I want to see it in the chat. I got to see it. What are y'all working on? I don't see nobody typing nothing. Slave, get more specific than that, Benjamin. Old Funk, Bird, get more specific than that. You drill that down. What is your practice? A lot of Eden Nielsen. Okay, cool. But what does that look like? You got 30 minutes to practice, right? You got 30 minutes to practice. What does it look like? If you want me to stay skin tight, okay? Get deeper than that. What does that look like? Are you sitting down just trying to play the whole thing from start to finish? Or are you dissecting vocabulary from that? Right? Fretboard knowledge. What does that look like? She spoke to me. That's a dope tone. That's a dope tune. Just a touch of love till I get it right. What does... Still trying to name all the notes. Okay, orange juice. Oop. Sorry. Orange juice. Tell me this. I'm not saying there's no benefit from being able to name all the notes. I'm not saying that. Don't nobody get it twisted. I'm not saying that. Why? Tell me why. Why you want to do that? Turn my back on you by Slave. I still want to know, like, I want somebody to really get in there and tell me why, what it looks like. Okay, Stephen Bird, if you're practicing Mr. Magic, what is it about Mr. Magic that you're practicing? Right? Do you know the chords that are playing in Mr. Magic? Can you relate Mr. Magic to something else? Right? Can you take some of the techniques that you learned from, let's say, okay, articulation and timing? All right, cool. Can you take, for instance, some of the techniques from Skin Tight and put them in Mr. Magic, right? The reason I'm saying that is because when I do a gig, or back in the old days, pre-COVID, when I actually used to do gigs all the time, I didn't play anything exactly like the record, right? I didn't play anything exactly like the record. I played. Yes, Bird talking about he's still a hack. He probably outplaying everybody on the chat right now. He probably in there like Mark Adams himself talking about he a hack. Not trying to hear that. Get out of here with that, son. Not trying to hear that, Bird. Yeah. Um. One of the like let's go back to say if you want me to stay, right? Those chord changes, you hear those chord changes in so many different funk tunes. Um, have you guys ever heard Everybody Got Their Something by Nika Costa? It's very, very similar changes to If You Want Me to Stay. If You Want Me to Stay is also the Sunny changes. Sunny, Bobby Head, right? A lot of times people will play, they'll mash up If You Want Me to Stay with Sunny Just Friends by Music Soul Child and Sunny by Bobby Head. All the same changes, you know, which easily morphs into uh, 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 either one of those tunes morphs into what's the name of that song? I guess you wonder where I've been. What You Won't Do for Love, which then morphs into Just the Two of Us by Grover Washington, you know. But limitations I think are good. Are good. Limiting yourself to what's up, Brandy? Brandy, don't you know we love you, sweet Brandy? Every time Brandy come in the room, I'm gonna make up some little ditty. She gotta have a song. Brandy gotta have a theme song. Green Onions. Doom 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 ga doom 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 ga doom. What was I saying before? Uh, 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 limiting yourself to four strings. Limiting yourself to four strings. Brian Dean. Let me tell y'all about Brian Dean. My boy Brian Dean just walked in the building, and I gotta put his behind on blast right now. I can't stand Brian Dean. I can't stand him. I ain't gonna say I hate him. I can't stand him, but I love him. That's my boy. My boy. He don't wear no shoes. And let me tell you the strangest thing about Brian and I. I am left-handed, but I play right-handed. Now that's smart, right? That's smart because you could readily find a right-handed bass, and you can find right-handed basses all over the place. Now that crazy person is right-handed, but he play left-handed, so he got to spend all this extra money finding basses. Brian, if you still in here, bro, that's like the strangest thing I've ever heard in my life, man. I've heard of some strange things, but that's bizarre. These people out here running, they be running, boy. Some of them look real unhappy running. They just, well, take a break, slow down, take a break. Brian was talking about the Samando. If you get your hands on a Samando book, um, Samando etudes are super dope. They'll get you moving around the neck a lot. But don't like. Let's talk about sight reading for a second. Sight reading is when you read something one time for the first time, right? What does this say right here? This is a COVID test result. Dear patients, if you have symptoms, no. Dear patient, If you have symptoms today and choose not to see a provider, please follow up with your provider, right? That's sight reading, right? I read that for the first time. Now, when I read that again, I'm not sight reading it. If I, like, let's say this was a movie script or something, right? Once I read it again, I'm not sight reading it anymore. I'm practicing it, or I'm remembering it. I'm putting it into memory, right? So, like, if you're practicing reading, the first oh, fella. Oh my gosh. My goodness. I'm not some of these people out here were just running. They just don't look happy. It doesn't look like it's a pleasant experience. It looks like torture. It looks like torture. Nobody's ever running with just like a look of joy on their face. It's always like, oh, I'm about to die. Okay. Like if you're not sight reading, if you're practicing your reading and you like identify F at both octaves on the staff, right? And you identify every place. You can only play that low F one place, right? But that that octave of that F, you could play on the D string. You could also play it on the A string, right? So every time you see that note, you call it. That's F. That's F. That's F. And you're not practicing going through a whole passage. You're practicing just like you would practice saying the words "dear patient," you know, like you, dear, we all start off like that, right? We all start off like that. But then you get to the point where you're chunking, and then you know DEAR is the word dear. You're not even thinking about that. You're just saying the word. And that's how reading becomes when you see, little rhythmic figures. When you see them, you just know them. When you see different melodic passages, you can automatically tell what's a half step, a whole step, or whatever. It's just there. And then the sight reading becomes a lot easier. Sight reading is never I'm a start and stop. Sight reading is going through the whole thing. You know what I mean? One of the dopest things about playing with orchestras when I was in the Bay was you would always have an initial read through with the orchestra, and everybody is an experienced reader, right? Everybody's an experienced reader, but there would always be mistakes. Now, depending on the level of the players, the mistakes would be, greater or smaller, whatever, depending on the level of the players. But there's always a point where it's like, okay, mark that, check that, work on this, stop, and you start making, little notes in your score saying, okay, this is the part I have to work on. This is the part I have to put in the shed. Why do I have to put it in the shed? Well, it may be a physical thing that I have to work on, right? A technique thing that I have to work on. By the time you get to the actual performance, you have seen that passage so much that you're not even reading it. You're just reminded of where it is, right? They're just like signposts. I did West Side Story. West Side Story a few years back. And West Side Story's Bernstein. It's not like playing Hairspray. Matter of fact, I played Hairspray, the musical, twice in that same year, and then also did West Side Story. West Side Story is like classic theater, right? This Bernstein is like, you don't improvise things. You play the notes as they are written on the page. But it was written for upright, and I was playing on electric bass. There were some very technically challenging pieces there. There were some rhythmically challenging pieces there. So, when we, I almost told the guy, I know, Brian, you're hard-headed. Hard headed. That's them Bay Area dudes, man. Hard headed. Um, like I almost told the conductor that I didn't think I should do the show because it was so tough. There's another book. There's another book that I really suggest getting. I really like. If there's a book, if there is one book that you're gonna get, if there's one book that you're gonna get that I would suggest you get for learning how to read, it's a book by Rich Appleman called "Reading Contemporary Sight Reading Contemporary Bass" by Rich Appleman. It's a Berkeley Press book. There's a affiliate link or something down in on one of my videos or something. There's one there where you can I get a little change or something or whatever if you buy from the affiliate link. But anyway, that book starts off with like super basic rhythms, right? And super basic rhythms, and also the types of things that you would actually see in real sight reading situations, right? Real sight reading situations. So, like if you're reading, Samando, or if you're reading like, there's a great concerto, the Capuzzi Concerto in F major, which is great. It's got some great scalar passages and things like that. Oh, there's another book I would suggest you get. It's called 30 Etudes. It is also a Samando book. It's called 30 Etudes. Why do I like it? It's written for upright. Samando was an upright guy. Written for upright, but very, very, very musical. And it goes through all 12 keys. So you start off with C major, and then you work your way through all the keys. This Etude book, like I said, is very musical, but it's written in a way that addresses technical issues with the instrument, with the upright. But it's very helpful for electric bass as well. Very, very helpful with electric bass. So, but if you're not into, really diatonic sounding things, you might either have to get past that, or that ain't the thing for you. But it's very musical, and there's some very beautiful things in there. You know what I mean? I wouldn't call them beautiful, but there's some nice stuff in there, and it's mixed meter and all that. So, but it is an etude book. It is definitely an etude book. So you want to go through it like, sequentially, start and stop, start and stop, start and stop, start and stop, and then test yourself. How far, you do one etude, and then you say, well, how far can I get on the next page? How far can I get without stopping at whatever the prescribed tempo is? Because all these things will have a suggested tempo. And you go at that suggested tempo, how far can I get? And can you even tell if you're wrong or not? Right? If you have nobody there to tell you that ain't it, can you tell if you're wrong or not? So, yeah, sorry, I rambled a little bit on sight reading, but oops. Sight reading is a good thing. If memory serves, you made a video and discussed several books. So the word book is the title of the video. The word book. The word book. I don't know if I really understand, Bird. The word book is the title of the video. I did talk about several books. But you could read anything. You could read anything. Anything. Right? I do not suggest necessarily starting off with trombone etude books. I don't recommend doing anything for tuba. I don't recommend anything with just like I said the other day, I don't recommend doing anything that is like 0 to 100. I recommend starting with, hell, Ed Friedland's books. If you start with the Ed Friedland electric bass method, I can't tell you how many guys, man, would be like, I'm gonna get my reading thing to get my reading thing to get. That was 10 years ago. They still don't read, right? Because if your motives aren't correct, not correct, but if your motives don't make sense, then you ain't gonna do it. You're just not gonna do it. You're not gonna do it. Like I was saying the other day, for me, when I started reading, I really put myself into situations where I had to read. I had no choice but to read. And I was really, what really kicked me in the ass to read was I went to a situation. The guy had given me all these charts. We were just talking chord charts. The guy giving me all these charts and was like, I also had the audio tape, but I tried to cram all this information. And then I get to the rehearsal, and I'm trying to remember and fake like I'm reading. And the guy was like, "You can't read, can you?" And I was like, "Nah, not really." And he said, "The great ones never do." But the way he said it, that wasn't no compliment. He was digging in me. You know what I mean? And so I was like, "Nah, fam, I'm not gonna be in that situation again." I didn't want to be in that situation ever again. But I was also at a point in my career where I felt like there was either I was going to join some famous artist, I was going to become independently wealthy, or I was not going to have a longevity. Hey, Lawrence. Yeah, Ed Friedland's books are really well written. Ed is, in my opinion, one of the godfathers of bass education, electric bass education. Oh, $5 you must read it, something like that. Oh yeah. You know who remembers Music Dojo? Who remembers Music Dojo? Raise your hand if you remember Music Dojo. That was run by Adam Niddy. It was run by Adam Niddy. Adam Niddy, people forgot, man. Long before Scott's bass lessons, long before Derek's bass lessons, long before TED Talks bass, long before anybody else that's slinging bass online, Adam Niddy had a subscription website that was dope. It was dope. Matter of fact, my first year of junior college, that's what we call it in New Orleans, community college, when I went back to school and I was like, I'm going to get serious about this. Adam Niddy, I sent Adam Niddy an email. Adam Niddy got on the phone with me. Yo, and talked me through how to do walking bass lines. I kid you not. That man, he doesn't remember it, and Adam Niddy probably wouldn't know me from sliced bread right now, from a hole in the ground right now. But I think that's another inspiration for me to just like get online and just like run my mouth and just talk to people, because somebody did it for me. You know what I mean? Somebody did it for me. At the end of the day, here's what gets on my nerves about. Here's what gets my nerves on. I told Excellent and them. Sometimes I be biting my tongue a little bit, but arrogance, man. Arrogance. My music conductor. I want to read this. Brandy got something to say. My music conductor told me that he started with the hard parts first when he joined the band. After some time of me telling him, "Oh, dang it! Hold on a second. Where did that chat go?" Oh, okay. After some time of, I'm reading this thing like an old man, Just It's a doggone shame. My music conductor told me that he started with the hard parts first when I first joined the band. After some time of me telling him that I was illiterate to sight reading, I'm way better now. Good for you. Yeah, Adam is dope, man. Adam is dope. There's a lot of arrogant cats out there, man. And here's the thing about being a bass player. We ain't curing cancer. We're not curing cancer. We're not curing COVID. We're not doing anything. Just keep it 100. I've had people. Yeah, I mean, look, I've had people say, "Oh, music changed my life," and blah blah blah. Yeah, music changed my life too. Music saved me too. You know what I mean? But I don't do. None of us as musicians do anything worthy of us walking around like, like we got S's on our chest. You know what I'm saying? Look at this boat, man. Look at this boat. What do you call this, a barge? Look at that. It's just incredible. I wish I had my drone. Anyway, so when people like Adam Niddy, take the time to rap with you, and I mean I think he was a lot bigger at the time too. As he had was a little bit more well known at the time. He didn't have to do that. He had to do that, but I'm glad he did. Appreciated it most of that. So back to what I was supposed to be talking about, because to people running around me, I was running. Orange juice. Limitations. There's another book that you should read. There's another book that you should read. See you, Brian. Love you, man. There's another book you guys should read. If you do Audible, it's a great audio book. I like audio books. It's called The Practicing Mind by Thomas Sterner. And he's really talking about doing things in like 15-minute spurts, 15-minute chunks, but really focusing in on what you're doing for small chunks of time. Bass players are making other guys' girlfriends dance. Well, that is true. Sometimes. Sometimes. Sometimes it ain't. Sometimes it's not true. But yeah, I don't like the arrogant thing though. Thomas Sterner, Practicing Mind. Robert Greene, Mastery. It's a good book. Neither one of those things is bass specific. Rich Appleman's Sight Reading for Contemporary Electric Bass. Cannot recommend that enough. Simondl, 30 Etudes. So bass specific books. Rich Appleman, Sight Reading Contemporary Bass, or something like that, is by Rich Appleman. Simondl, 30 Etudes. Ed Friedland's Electric Bass Method. It's good stuff, especially if you're just starting out reading. Once you start really getting the hang of it, I suggest finding the bass book for musicals, like Hairspray. Cats was a good one. Now, I mean, there's some legalities in that, but I mean, there's some cats that have, that hold on to PDFs of old musicals that they've played and stuff like that. So, reading common rhythms, if you're a bass player and you have the desire to do studio work and people, if you know how to read a bunch of horn lines, right? If you've studied all that, but when a tumbao line is on a piece of paper and you can't read that, then the other stuff does you no good, right? So I guess what I'm saying is what I was listening to today is begin with the end in mind, right? Begin with the end in mind. What is it you want to do? Anyway, guys, I've been on here running my mouth for like 35 minutes, and people not like running like the people around me are running, but yeah. Anyway, right on, Brandy. Right on, Brandy. All right, y'all. Today's Sunday, right? Today is Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I'm gonna get on out of here, y'all. I might do a little bit more of this. I kind of need these little brain breaks, and and thank you guys for always hopping on and kicking it and hanging out and all that good stuff. And so I'll catch you in the next one. Peace. Two fingers. Doo, doo, doo. How do you turn this off?